Hi guys, glad you can make it back. Well, today we're going to be replacing my AC motor. My motor went out on it. I checked the fuse, I checked the refrigerant in my air conditioner, and that was topped off, so I'm pretty sure it's the motor. Now, if you watched my other videos and done some of the repairs yourself, this one you can do. I admit it's a little tricky getting the motor out, and you got to be really careful putting it in. But it's really not that hard, and it doesn't take a lot of tools. Alright, let's get started. Okay, I got the hood up. This is my Northstar engine. First thing we want to do, take the positive cable off your battery. We don't want to short anything. I can see the first thing we're going to need to do is take off this bar. It's got 2 bolts on each end. They're 13 millimeter. Once we got that bar out of the way, let's look a little closer. As we zoom in, you can see how close we are to the engine. We could see the AC motor right here in the red arrow, and the bolts next to it in the blue arrow are 7 millimeters, and we're going to have to remove, I believe, 5 or 6 of them. Once you remove those screws, the motor comes out. The problem is you got all this stuff in front of it that you can't pull the motor out. So we're going to have to remove some stuff here. Okay, the first thing I see is this plug up on top in the red arrow. We're going to have to unplug that. And there's this module down here. As you can see, there's a screw in the blue arrow. We're going to have to remove that. That's 10 millimeters. And we're going to have to remove the plug that connects to the motor in the red arrow. The next thing we're going to have to take off is this coil pack. There are 4 10 millimeter screws, 2 on top and 2 on the bottom. Now we can lift the coil pack out of the way. Don't unplug anything. Now if you look down, you'll see 4 spark plug wires. The arrows show where the spark plug wires are approximately. You're going to unplug the 2 blue ones. Label them so you know when you put it back together, you know which wire goes where. Now we have an idea of what needs to be done. So let's get to work. Okay, so we're going to take off the 4 nuts off this bar, which are 13 millimeters. You can easily use a wrench or a ratchet, either or. Okay, now that we got the bar out of the way, let's take a closer look. Now we're going to take off the cord that powers the AC motor. Just unplug it and set it aside. Okay, let's disconnect this plug that's connected to your AC. Be very careful, it's plastic, you don't want to break it. Now we're going to remove this module. There's one 10 millimeter bolt. Just unbolt it and set it aside. Okay, on each side of the coil pack there's 2 plugs. One is a light avocado green, the other one is a blue. Just unplug those 2 and set it aside. There's 1 on each side. Okay, you can see we got the other one unplugged, and I'm pointing at the 10 millimeter bolt on the coil pack. There's 2 on top, 2 on the bottom. Just remove the screws and set the coil pack aside. Don't unplug any of the ignition wires. Okay, we've removed everything out of the way, but there's still not enough room. So, what we need to do is move the engine forward. Now there's 2 ways you can do it. One way is to go underneath, put a jack underneath your car and jack it up to the engine, remove 2 bolts, and then lower the engine down and your engine tilts forward. That's one way. The other way is this way. You're going to remove these dog bones. This is the passenger side, this is the driver's side. The driver's side, you're going to have to take the bracket off, because what happens is the way they got the bolt in, it hits against this guard and you can't take the bolt out, so you have to take the whole bracket off. Only remove the dog bone on the driver's side. Only take out 1 bolt on the passenger side. Okay, once you remove the dog bone on the driver's side, install this turnbuckle. Make sure it's of good quality. You don't want a cheapie to break on you. Turn the buckle so the engine moves forward approximately about 1 inch. Just enough so the motor will clear and you can pull out the AC motor. Okay, we got the bad motor out. Right now we're working on the new one that's going to replace it. We are removing the metal back plate, then the back of the motor. Notice there's 3 plugs. Spray some contact cleaner on them where they make connection. Okay, first we're gonna install the fan motor. Now we're gonna plug in the back of the motor plate. Notice I said plug in. You just can't align it, you have to plug it in. It's a little hard to do this from the side, so what I did is I laid down on the engine and worked on it straight on. Okay, this is what it's going to look like straight on. Screw these 5 screws on these 7mm. Do those first. I'm pointing at one at the very bottom. Do not put these 3 screws in first, the ones with the red arrows. Okay, you can see I'm plugging the back plate of the motor into the motor. Once that's done, we're going to go ahead and screw in our 7mm screws. The ones on the bottom are a little hard to get to, so I used a small little ratchet. Okay, now we're going to align and install this heavy metal back plate. Now you can put on those 3 screws that I told you not to put in. You can put them in now. Now that you got the 3 screws in and the 5 other screws in, you're all set. Your motor's installed. Now we can start closing the patient. We're going to go ahead and plug in any hoses that you disconnected off this module and tighten it down with that 10mm bolt. Now we can plug this plug-in back into the AC sensor. Again, be very careful, it's plastic. It just snaps in. Okay, remember the 2 spark plug wires that I told you to pull out and mark? Plug the right spark plug wires to the right cylinder in. Do not forget to do this. Okay, now we're going to put the coil pack into position and get it ready to be screwed in with our 4 10mm bolts. You're going to see this little wire here. It's got a copper fitting in the end. We're going to go ahead and spray some contact cleaner and brush it so we get good contact. Once you got it all clean, go ahead and screw your 4 10mm bolts down. Okay, now that you screwed down your coil pack, you're going to need to plug back in the 2 plugs that are on each side of the coil pack. Remember, there's plugs on the driver's side of the coil pack and on the passenger side of the coil pack. Next, turn the turnbuckle so the engine is in position so you can put the small dog bone in first. Once you have the dog bone in, then remove the turnbuckle and put the large dog bone in next. Okay, one of the last things to do is to go ahead and install this strut bar. Okay, it looks like everything is in. Just double check and make sure you've got everything connected like it's supposed to be. Now we can connect our battery and see if it works. Okay, let's try it. Made this little flag thing here. If you want one of these, by the way, I'm selling them for $9.99. It's a nice little cool tool to check to check the air. Nice. Well guys, it looks like I'm ready for the summer. Well, I hope this video helped you and hopefully it saved you some money. Please check out my other videos. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Until then, see you on the next video. Bye.